Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Let's roll.
You're listening to Sergeant's Time on WTF Nation Radio.
All right. Oh, man. Break them off some. Quick. Break them off some. There we go. Yeah. Broadcasting live from the Functional Veterans Center of Excellence this 4 March 2021. It's like we're still in March. We haven't left. Oh man, this is Sergeant's Time. I'm your host, Ice, and my other host in the gunner seat, Spanky.
That's me.
Man in the gunner seat, just rocking and rolling. We are one UIC away from being an official Army unit. As much as all the haters are out there, let them talk shit. Oh man, so how's everybody been? How you been, Spanky?
Oh my gosh, I've been great. You know why? Because the weather got its shit together.
Yeah, I was about to
and it
say.
hasn't been freezing.
I was kind of saying that the weather is doing okay. I just want to give a real quick shout out to General Hersey and the PAO Dean Carter out at the Cyber Center of Excellence for hosting me at Fort Gordon, Georgia. It was nice hanging out in Georgia. I even made my way around southern Georgia. And it was pretty cool. So again, thank you for your hospitality, Cyberco, and appreciate the talks and the brunches and the invites. It was great. It was a good time. That's why I was out. Me and Flash were out doing some shit. We were out doing stuffs.
Yeah, that's why y'all weren't here Monday.
Right? Yeah. We're just hanging out and goofing off. And then Flash is like, man, I don't know. We're busy doing stuff, man. Do we really want to come back? Nah, let's just go ahead and peace out. Enjoy your trip home. Hang out with the fam. And all that. So, but actually, it would actually help me with a lot of work that I got to catch up on. So that was pretty cool.
Good.
At least Flash got to I guess to say he get to blow off some steam. He's gonna go off and do shit later. But yeah. So again, thanks again, Cyberco, for hanging out and letting us hang out in your AO, all the cyber stuff of excellence. That's all cybering and of cybering. Man, it was pretty crazy, man. Pretty freaking crazy. So Fort Gordon, yeah, pretty cool. It's a lot of innovation there. Cyber stuff, information warfare, all that zeros and ones and Borg collective nerds and signal stuff. That was just like overwhelmed. It was a good trip. But anyway, so what'd I miss?
Well, I haven't been to Fort Gordon in a million years, but I need to do a real quick shout out. It is my dad's happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dad Mr. Spanky. Do we call him Mr. Spanky? What do we call him?
Happy birthday, Daddy. I love you.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
They were on their way to go to steakhouse when I called before the show, so I don't know if they get to hear this yet.
Oh, okay.
They do listen sometimes, but I'm sure he'll catch it.
Right.
So I just had to say happy birthday to my daddy.
Oh, happy birthday, Dad. That's what I'm talking about.
Put up with my shit for many, many years.
many years. Oh man. Well, that's cool. So happy birthday, Dad. And don't worry, we just got Spanky here working. God, it just feels weird to be back to work, back to radioing.
And I don't usually work Mondays anyway, but but it was just like, oh, what if something's missing tonight? Something's missing, because I always come check up on y'all. I'm always watching and I'm always listening.
No,
I missed it on Monday. I was like, what's going on?
I remember on the road. I was on the road and you sent me a text and you're like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" I'm fine.
Right.
I just need to freaking move out and do some shit and move out and draw fire. But other than that, where's the picture? Ain't no picture with me. Sorry, we don't do pictures because we're like right now. I'm broadcasting in a t-shirt and Ranger panties, and freaking Spanky is broadcasting in t-shirt and Ranger panties too. So we don't do that stuff. We don't do the pics.
And a unicorn hoodie.
Yeah, exactly. We got hoodie, exactly. So we're kind of like dressed down. And besides, I have a face for cam. I don't think I'm very I'd break the camera. Let's put it that way. I would not. I'd not post my face.
You would not.
Yeah, exactly.
You would not break the camera.
I would. Matter of fact. Yeah, my nose is so big, when I swim on my back, people say shark. So that's how big my nose is. But anyways, yeah. So, but my point being is that it was a good trip. But I do appreciate you looking out for me. I didn't want you to think that I was, out and about, but it really was a good trip. Really pretty productive. Got to hang out. But tonight, we're gonna have he might as well just be our PAO. I mean,
might as well. We can just
Colonel Buccino, Joe Buccino, Joe Buccino from the 18th Airborne Corps is going to come on and talk about the Doomsday Clock, but he's also going to give us an update on the Dragon's Lair, because yours truly was a little bit behind the scenes, and that was part of the reason why I was busy working. And man, I was tired. It was work. This stuff is work. I mean, this is like a bunch of work. So. Anyways, on with the show. Hey, so real quick, I just want to give a shout out to the National Guard that's currently surrounding the Capitol. I shouldn't say surrounding. That's a bad choice of words, right? Is that phrasing? Well, people get mad at me if I say that. If I say phrasing, if I say they're surrounding the Capitol, yeah, because the way the news is right now, and the way we're being looked at, because WTF moments, as soon as we say something wrong, we have to walk on eggshells so that way people don't get specifically upset, but I don't care tonight. However, the National Guard right now is dealing through some drama. If anything else, if you're in the DC area and you see some National Guard soldiers and just buy them some tacos or something. There's a story that happened over the weekend, or happened during the last 72 hours, of the National Guard getting served some rancid chow. I mean, bad chow. And it's to the point to where our troops, and there are troops who are eating some freaking, that's some nasty crap. The food I'm going to show you some pictures right now, and then I'm going to do a highlight of. I was going to do some screenshot madness later, but I figured we go ahead and cover it because people were asking me.
Oh yeah.
Ice, were you going to cover this? Are you going to drop some screens? Are you going to drop some receipts? And of course, we always drop receipts. We always drop screenshots to provide you, the WTF Nation, with the most informative information on all military news. Retired active National Guard, of course. DA civilian. We got added DA civilians because there's some DA civilians in there. But anyways, so real quick, check out this chow, man. Check out this chow. I'm going to throw up on the first slide. Look at that. Some rotten fruit. Some mad undercooked freaking beef. Now, some individuals will say that's cool, I guess. You got some of those old school guys. Well, you better, back when I was the mold was penicillin. You always had big SARS.
Right.
And look at that chow. That's freaking nasty. That's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm not ready.
Yeah, that's not.
This makes me a little nauseous.
Yeah, it is. I was like, of the other pictures.
And I like raw beef, but not raw hamburger.
Oh, I know. That's like salmonella waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Waiting for that chow right there. And by the way, you're already pulling guard duty over something that supposedly intel was supposed to have happened or not happened. I don't keep up on all that shit.
The DC Green Zone.
Yeah, the DC Green Zone. Yeah. FOB Congress. But that's some nasty ass chow. So then they said no, we're gonna go ahead and serve it up. We're gonna have another happy another happy ending to the story. So after that happened, the company that's been catering to it said, oh no, we're gonna fix this. Well, we're gonna fix this shit right now. So they provided better meals, and it was like, oh, okay, right, chicken, some coleslaw, some rice, and stuff like that. That's pretty awesome. Well, then, as the troops were eating it, there was metal shavings and worms in the food.
Like, this has to be like the moldy fruit and bread and shit. Okay, that's gross, but metal shavings, like, how does that even happen? Right.
Now, I'm looking at that crap and I'm thinking, oh God, that's freaking disgusting. I couldn't even, chewing on that chow, and then all of a sudden buying. Yeah, it's almost like gag stuff. Well, there was one picture I actually kind of felt like I was going to, Chuck. Well, it gave me and I have a pretty strong stomach. And so it's most things that I see, but there was one picture that you dropped. Remember, you dropped a picture, and I wasn't going to post it. It looked like some purple, like, what was that supposed to be? Like some sort of clam chowder.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was supposed to be something, but it had worms in there, like crawling around and shit. And so it's everyone's like, oh my God. Well, people were like, hey, what the hell is going on? Now, in military contracting, there's supposed to be a statement of work and a performance and stuff like that, and you're supposed to have deliverables that are provided to by the said contractor. That if they're not met by that, then of course the contract is null and void or whatever. But yeah. There's a bunch of the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or the FAR, will cover a lot of the details of what's supposed to be in this contract. So the name of the place, and I don't think we haven't dimed out a place in a long time. Have we not dimed out a place? Have we not? I mean,
it's been a while.
Yeah, I was about to say it's been a long time since we've dropped dimes. Y'all want to drop dimes? Let's drop some dimes. Yeah, that's fine.
3 dimes.
You want to drop some 3 dimes? I'm about to say, yeah, because everyone's like going, yeah, just drop dimes. So the place is called Sardi's Apoyo a la Brasa, and they were pretty upset. They were like, hey, this is freaking. This is not cool. We're not gonna post it. We're not, we're doing the best we can.
No, that's not the best you can.
That's not the best you can, exactly.
You can't tell there's mold on things or metal shavings.
Well, from what if
that was like anybody but soldiers, like let's say you had to cater a fucking wedding and you had that shit, like you get sued.
Right, exactly. If you're a cater of that shit, from what the soldiers have been telling me in the inbox and other sources have said to me, is that it's almost like a plop. It's kind of funny. It's called a plop and drop. They just drop by. They just drop by the chow. And they drop it, and then that's it. It's done, and they're whatever. So of course we were. It's like, hey, have you tried Yelp? Have you tried whatever? I'm like, oh yeah, I see. Yeah, we've been dropping dimes to Yelp. So we're like, okay, cool. Yeah, everyone's saying what Sardi's was good for the day. Hey, yeah, there's some DC National Guard individuals listening to us in the chat, by the way. I told them to check us out and listen to us in WTF Nation Radio. So. Yeah, exactly. I'm tired of all the bro vets are going to come out saying, you better eat that because back when I was deployed we had moldy fruit and sand and we ate flies. We were happy,
We made mud pies out of the sand.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So somebody dropped some reviews in there, and of course they people got the ass and started doing it. So they the audience. The WTF Nation answered. They submitted their reviews on the Yelps. And quote on one of them gave it a 1 star, saying, "We receive regular catering from this company via contract. Meals are completely unacceptable. Several meals have been received undercooked, and overseasoned to the point of being inedible, and contaminated with metal shavings. Coworkers have gotten sick from the food. Most will now actively refuse meals from this company instead of choosing to pay for food out of pocket. Do not recommend under any condition." Right. So there you go. There's a Yelp review. You'd think, okay, well, somebody's not going to freaking get upset about that. Maybe we should do something about it. Oh, no. No. They threw out a blanket statement. Sardi's threw out a blanket statement and literally was, I don't know, kind of like shit-talking the people who were posting it. It's like it's not like they just didn't like it. They have pictures. Yeah, they got receipts, right? They got straight. Yes. Yeah, exactly, Pooks. I'd rather eat watery field. I'd rather just... I don't want to sound like a boomer, but I'd rather just eat freaking MREs.
Yeah.
At that point, I would just rather eat MREs.
But I'd probably be the one that's like going and like ordering Uber Eats.
I would.
Since
exactly.
Exactly. My own money.
Now we're going to get more details of this later on, and this is a developing story, of course. A Task and Purpose, Stars and Stripes. They've all covered the story already of the substandard chow. That's being delivered. So sorry.
Even the Daily Mail over in the UK is
exactly. How would you imagine the press room of the Daily Mail UK? Could you believe this food is worse than ours? I don't know what British cuisine is like. I've only ate there once.
Mashed peas and beans on toast, but fuck.
Exactly. So now rarely do we ever see support the troops, yada yada, wave the flag, and all sorts of shit, right? Rarely do we see anybody lash out at anybody providing a bad review. No, not Sardi's. Sardi's Pollo a la Brasa dropped this statement. At Sardi's, we strive for 100% customer satisfaction. Thank you for taking the time to contact us regarding this. As you may be aware, only a small group of complaining about this food is being received. A complete investigation has occurred with our part with the help of many soldiers. We are aware of the real reason your group is complaining, and it's a real shame. It's not fair that we've been caught in the middle of this. But understand, you wanted money rather than food. We thank you for protecting ours and serving this great country. We will do our best to continue and feed everyone. We have put the necessary safety precautions in place that 100% of the meals we serve are delicious and clean. We hope you all get home to your families and get to that great home cooked meal that you desire. God bless. I'm blessed. 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 Hashtag blessed. Hashtag blessed. So that's
okay, so they have put the necessary safety precautions in place. Did they not have those before?
I don't know. See, that's Pookie's got a good question too. I wonder what lobbyist owns that place. Who owns that stuff? I'm sure there's been some sort of immediately, is that a single source?
I don't know how to look it up in DC. I know how to do it in Texas. And if I know who the owner is of any business, I'm sure I can figure out how to look and see who actually owns this place.
Right.
And
I wonder who owns it. I wonder if it's a member of like military leadership in the Guard or something like that. Like, I mean, I know a guy type thing.
Either. Like they had to get the contract somehow. And aren't there like places to eat in the Capitol, like a cafeteria or something like that? Or,
I don't think
where does everybody that work there eat?
I don't think they want them there. Like, I really don't think they care.
How could we have these plebs, sitting next to us eating?
Yes,
but,
okay.
I mean, that seems to be like the perfect solution to me.
These fools are sitting here, but I'm just kind of tripping out at the fact that instead of answering the mail to hey, yeah, we know about this, blah blah blah. Hey, I got it. Most public relations messes that are being handled like this especially when it comes to food. Hey, we understand. We strive for 100%, customer satisfaction. I probably would have said, hey, there is like freaking we're sorry about this, blah 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 blah. And we're doing our best to fix this and rectify it and get to the blah 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 blah. Here's some meals or whatever, whatever.
Right.
But when you say we are aware of the real reason your group is complaining and it's a real shame, you're just like
that just makes me think that somebody's working there putting metal shavings in your fucking.
It's a real shame. Real shame. It's a real shame, Spanky. It's a real shame. Look at this child. You mean to tell me that there's a specific group complaining? So,
people that have to eat moldy food.
People have to eat moldy food and some shavings.
You want to see some Karen in me? I bet I have some.
Could you imagine? I was about to say, God, oh my God. There were some governors that were like raising some hell about it, saying this is substandard. This is some bad shit. I can't believe our soldiers or guardsmen are out there doing that. Yada yada yada. You know what I mean? Which they're well within their rights to complain, of course. You guys have checked out the post that we posted on our page. The National Guard won't cut ties with the contract that served undercooked food, sickening troops. It will stick with the current food contractor after calls from a dozen lawmakers to sever ties following reports of undercooked food laced with metal shavings and worms. If you look at the original story that was posted on U.S. Army WTF Moments on the main page, there are some videos in there that the audience, that members also of the DC Guard have placed inside those comments, and you'll see photos, you'll see videos, you'll see the worm video in there too.
Oh, I don't want to look at you.
Yeah, it was disgusting. Disgusting. So it is completely unacceptable that our men and women serving in Washington, D.C. are being hospitalized due to the food that's being provided, says a letter from 14 House members to the National Guard Chief Daniel Helgeson. To feed thousands of troops in D.C. mission, the Guard awarded an $11.5 million contract to Sardi's Catering in College Park, Maryland, according to Major Matt Murphy, a Guard spokesman. Now there are 5,200 Guardsmen in D.C. versus the 26,000, of course, at the mission's peak. So Murphy said that the Guard will continue with that contract. God, that's insane.
Like, why? I mean, if this all happened like, 1 or 2 days and it was, and it's not like this ongoing issue like it is right now, like either one, because, you did have people in the chat saying the first couple of days was great. They either were not prepared to fulfill the terms of that contract by feeding that many people. And they're just, I still don't understand the metal shavings and just getting wherever you can get it. Or two, you got like some anti-National Guard people in there putting fucking metal in your food.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how metal shavings can be in your food.
Recruiter
but
Times.
I look at this. This is probably something that was canned
And in the processing, that's what it looks like. It looks like in the processing of it being canned, it was almost like factory type made. You know what I mean? It was almost like run through a process. Like it was probably a machine of canned items, and they were just run through like a conveyor belt or something like that. And the cutting device that was there to open whatever canned items it was got in there.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But that's the only, like, I'm not saying it's okay, but the only logical explanation I can see for these metal shavings.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, what's up, Jay? Long time no see, man.
Like, you can see if there's some mold. Like, I can understand, like, okay, if one piece of bread out of 500 had some mold on it,
Yeah, exactly. Pookie says that this food poisoning meet cab requirements for the combat action badge. Recruiter Time said just put some hot sauce on it; it'll be good. That or the can opener screwed up opening it exactly. But right there, I think. I mean, just the fact that exactly that everyone's. I mean, it's a lot of it's sus, as the kids would say. It's sus.
It's very sus.
It's very sus. You ain't.
I like to say those words to my kid and make her like cringe.
Yeah, no, they're like, Dad, what are you doing? And you know, why are you saying sus or totes or whatever the new vernacular is? But Murphy said the Guard is continuing the contract, and also ABC 7 WXYZ in Detroit first reported nearly 75 meals were thrown out after metal shavings were found and other meals uncooked, making service members sick. So some posts on social media showing live worms in the food. A staff sergeant informed ABC that the troops were told not to eat the food for 2 days and were given MREs instead. So, Representative
I think
Chris,
I would rather have an MRE.
Yeah, at this
I
point,
don't even eat those unless I don't know where my next meal's coming from.
Right, especially if you're seeing worms and metal shavings, I'd be like, nah, I'll stick to MREs, or I'll just give them per diem. Just give the troops their per diem, because there's different troops from they're it's a multi-state mission already.
I mean, that would be too easy, and then they can just buy their own food.
Right. Now, yeah, you guys know who
the Uber guys will make a shit ton of money.
You guys know who Uncle yeah, exactly. You guys know who Uncle Chaps is from from Barstool Sports. Also a writer, blogger for Zero Dark 30 was dropping dimes, calling bullshit out too. He even made a note of it as well. That it was in the article that was posted on the main page. A spokesperson for Sardi's Catering said that due to the COVID-19 restrictions, the company is required to prepackage individual meals at its own facilities instead of setting up a kitchen on site for the troops. Man, come on, dude.
I mean, I could see that. That's how they're doing it at schools too. But again, it's just not acceptable. I mean, I could see that they can't have like a whole buffet and shit set up with all the COVIDs around.
Right. But you would think at this point, real shame. Man, don't go back and forth with the customer.
What is the real reason? They didn't say it.
Right.
Like you're going to go on to that detail. What's the real reason? I'm going to go on Yelp and ask.
I'm going to get a letter from a lawyer or something like that from them going, oh, why'd you guys drop us out? You guys are talking shit about us. My feelings hurt.
What is it called? Something Paulo? I got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's called.
I only know one word. That's chicken.
It's called Sardi's pollo a la brasa is what it's called. But I'm telling you, man, that's what I would do. But to continue the article is that each food delivery is inspected by a National Guard representative before being approved for distribution. And unquote, that we have no further control over meals once they are dropped off. See, that's what they're saying. They're kind of saying like, oh, it's dropped off. I'm telling you what, the meals didn't uncook themselves if they're just sitting there.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works.
Yep, exactly. So
I've cooked a few things in my life.
Right. It doesn't turn raw when it sits out there.
I mean,
not at all.
Still hot, get overcooked,
right?
Not turn raw. Grow metal.
Nor do I see it. It doesn't grow shavings either. It doesn't grow metal shavings. But at any rate, so we are proud to serve food to our National Guard troops who have deployed to Washington and around the U.S., and we stand by the quality and safety of our food we deliver to the National Guard troops, the catering company spokesperson said. Somebody in the Army said this is unacceptable. And the Guard has designated more staff for food inspection. Somebody in the Army said, I will work closely with the Guard senior list leaders and I'm confident in immediate preventative actions they are taking. So there you go. Michigan's National Guard said that, quote, the first-hand accounts and pictures of undercooked food being severely clear shows what's been given to Michigan service members is unacceptable. Everyone's saying this is unacceptable. Spanky,
and they're still allowing it.
Spanky, this is unacceptable.
I know. I mean,
this is
unacceptable. Like Private Joe can say this is unacceptable.
This is
like, what the fuck are you doing about it?
This is unacceptable. Yeah, exactly. This is unacceptable of excellence. If there was anything that was unacceptable of excellence, it would be this: the food. Jay says if you bite down hard enough, you can get a metal filling. That's right.
Oh, maybe that's it. Like trying to save on dental care. That shit's expensive. I get it.
And D-Bag says, and they still don't allow beards. You ain't lying. I think that's crazy, man. I just honestly think that's kind of gotten out of hand. But
I know if I'd have had a little more time, I'd have tried to get an actual soldier that's there to call in tonight.
Well, I tried to get some of the callers there, but some were like, hey, I'm rotating out, I'm doing duty and stuff like that. I'm like, here, let me get you some. But they've had complaints a little back since 2017 or something like that. I'm just kidding.
Right.
From 2019. But I'm focused specifically on the location in DC though. All the other ones are not really, I'm really too concerned with. I just think again, it's just messed up that these guys are out there and gals doing this shit, and the next thing they show up and then they're oh man, this fucking sucks. Oh, here you go. So yeah. Now everyone says that it's no big deal and this is what's going to happen and how we're going to do that. But like you said, the Daily Mail UK even busted it out. But
I mean, why don't they just bring their own cooks? Does the National Guard have some of those cooks?
That's what I'm saying, man. Bring out what do they call it?
Your own soldiers ain't gonna stick metal in your food.
Right. Bring out the MKT, the tactical. Was it the tactical kitchen?
Yeah, if they're not gonna let them eat at the cafeteria in the Capitol, I'm sure they got somewhere.
I would have a cooking contest or something like that with some of the soldiers that could freaking. You know what I mean? Hey, I'd cook up some chow. I'd make some carne asada. Make some taco, beans and rice. Get some chorizo and eggs for freaking breakfast. Get them. I'd be them troops, man. Yeah, I'd be the troops, man. Hell yeah, that's what it's all about. Have volunteer chefs and stuff like that. And here, you want to go cook on the MKT? And select soldiers can go over there. Yeah, dude, it'd be freaking awesome. But yeah, this sucks, man. It's already bad.
Even if the food isn't great, from the inn or the mobile kitchen, even if it's not great, it's edible.
Right.
It's not moldy, wormy, metally.
Right.
I've never used metally to describe
metal.
But
you know what? But you know what? At least if there's an issue with the chow, you could go off on somebody in the military as opposed to you getting a snarky email or message back on Yelp. It's a shame.
No, I think that all these people that are just saying words like, oh, it's unfortunate and all this. No, you go eat there. This is all you get to eat for the next couple of days, and then tell me how unfortunate it is. Right. That's what I would say to any of those people.
Then have soldiers go out there and eat. Yeah. Eat with their soldiers.
Come on, Capitol guys.
Yeah, come on, Capitol guys. Eat with your troops. Hey, Congress. Why don't you have some chow? Eat some of that grub and see what happens. But anyways, speaking of the soldiers in DC, did you? Oh my God, did you hear about this crap? They're staying longer. Did you hear about that?
Green zone.
Yeah.
DC.
Yeah. Did you hear about that? They're now staying longer. Congress is. I guess they're saying that the DC police troops are staying longer in DC. So it's like the new Infinity War. We are turning the corner. That must be the. That's the new thing. We are turning the corner in Afghanistan. I mean, in DC. With further strategy, I guess you would say that we'd be able to keep our soldiers there for, I don't know, infinity. There was even a Duffel blog comment about it, that there was not going to be an exit strategy for DC. However, currently right now, the military is reviewing a request to keep Guard troops in DC for another 2 months. So the Pentagon's considering a request from the Capitol Police to extend the deployment of about 5,000 National Guard troops in DC until May. The AP first reported that the Capitol Police made a request the day after the agency announced it had uncovered the plot of a militia group. Man, name them. Who was it? Name them. Drop receipts. I want to see who was it. Who was it? Who was it? The one that who was plotting? We want to know. Drop the plot. Let's see who was the one that was going to do it. Drop names and shit.
They probably saw a Twitter post.
They brought.
This might be credible.
They're gonna. Oh my god! But anyways, oh wait, hang on. What's going on here? Hey, wait, hang on. Oh, we gotta. We might as well. Well, I think he's a little early, but hang on. Let me see. Hey, what's going on, Joe?
Oh, hey man, I'm just testing the line. Am I?
You're live, like brand new, like
now
live.
you're live.
No, you're live. Radio check 1, 2, 3. Joe Buccino, spokesman for 18th Airborne Corps, is doing a mic check. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm good. At this point, I feel like I should be like a guest host on this show.
I was about to say, we said that to me and Spanky said that earlier about the fact that you have been on here so much, you might as well just be a rotating admin or rotating host on here. I feel like I have like VIP status for WTF Nation, or I should have. You're asking? You've applied? You do. Well, you do kind of have some preview with it. I mean, you do allow me some access. You gave me a badge one time. So.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, you want me to get off until
phrasing, but yeah. You can. Go ahead. Just go ahead and you just stay. Just go ahead and disconnect, and then we'll you went about 20, 25 minutes, so that way we can all get ready and get set up for your airing. But yeah, you sound good.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, man.
We'll see you in a few minutes.
Sorry, I had to throw that dad joke in there.
Oh, no.
Freezing.
He does have some VIP status. All he's got to do is send me an email and say what he wants to talk about, and I'll get him booked.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Joe Buccino's awesome.
He was our very first official guest.
Right. Representing the Army. The official, we were like, we didn't know what to do. We used to shit talk him so much, and then all of a sudden he's like,
I need a uniform.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you're talking crap, Ice? Here, let me come on the show then. How about that? We're like, oh shit, what's going on? So, the AP reported that the Capitol Police made the request a day after, of course, the plot was uncovered. We need to find out who the plot is. Who the plotters? Like you said, it was probably some Twitter post. Somebody was. Is that what our intel people are doing nowadays? They're just looking at tweets. They're just looking at, because I know. All you gotta is tweet something out, and people freak the hell out. I think Twitter is more of a hair trigger platform for drama and BS than any other freaking platform on the planet. Because at least you can go, but it's more point to point, and someone would just be like hounding you. One group complaining about another group, complaining about another group, complaining about another group, then complains about another group, but then does the same thing that the other group that they were complaining about was doing. So it's kind of like a circular firing squad. It's kind of funny to watch when you see somebody saying some shit, and the next thing you know, they're doing the same shit that they're pissed off about what the other group was doing. So it goes back and forth. But we're loved on Twitter. we were treated. We have such a warm reception on there. Anyways, the Department of Defense has received requests for continued support from the U.S. Capitol Police, and is currently reviewing a request. Pentagon officials said to military.com. So the threat appears to be connected to the far white. Did I just say far white? Oh my god, dude! I need to stop drinking coffee. I'm like jumbling over my words. A threat appears to be connected to a far right conspiracy group promoted primarily by QAnon. QAnon again. That former D. Treasy, former President Donald Trump will rise again to power today. I guess 4th. So I don't know. I don't know what was supposed to happen. Was there supposed to be another election or something like that? Was there I don't know. I guess there was or there wasn't. But at any rate, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm sorry. My whole Skype disconnected, and I think I'm connected again.
Oh, well, I hear you. I didn't realize you were disconnected. Were you disconnected? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Way to go, Joe. Joe came in here and messed everything up. That's what it was. You still there? Okay. I guess she's having. I guess Spanky's having problems with their comms. But anyways, the threat appears to be connected to the far right conspiracy theory. And of course, then the date originally served as presidential inauguration day until 1933, which was supposed to be like March 4th. When the ceremony was moved to January 20th, of course that was an old historical event. National Guard officials remained tight-lipped on Thursday, releasing few details about how the 5,200 Guard members supporting the Capitol Police are involved, and in response to the latest security threat. So we won't be given the specifics of how we're performing the mission, intelligence sharing, or content of internal communications. But we can say that we're in continual contact with our partner agencies. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Robert Carver, a Virginia Air National Guard spokesman for the Joint Task Force DC Joint Information Center, told military.com in a statement. Carver referred all questions about an extension to the Guard's mission to the Pentagon. Quote, we are continuing our security mission in and around the D.C. Capitol, the U.S. Capitol, and as requested by federal civilian law enforcement agency partners, and our soldiers and airmen are postured to meet partner requirements. Online chatter by authorities included discussions amongst members of the Three Percenters, an anti-government militia group, concerning possible plots against the Capitol on Thursday. According to 2 law enforcement officials who were not authorized to speak publicly about it, and on the condition of anonymity. Members of the Three Percenters were among the extremists who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. The Capitol Police has made a significant security upgrade. Obviously, we've seen all the freaking the fencing and stuff, to include establishing a physical structure and increasing manpower to ensure the protection of Congress, public, and our police officer. It was announced on Wednesday in a news release. The increased security announcement came the same day D.C. Guard Commander Major General William Walker told members of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs that he could have begun sending Guard members to support D.C. law enforcement under siege by a rioting crowd hours earlier in January 6th, but was hampered by a strict Pentagon approval process, indecisive leadership, and delayed communications. Man, it is getting old. It's getting old. It is really getting old. I mean, I think our troops been there for a while. It's kind of like, Tina says that the extension was because Sardis needed protection from mean Yelp reviews and more money to serve hazmat food. That's right. Oh man, classic. Anyways, Spanky, you gonna come back? You there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Spanky, you there? Let me see if she's back. She's coming back here. Okay. Well, yeah. Wow. Well, it appears that there is a power outage in her location. Man, that sucks. Well, all her webs went out. Okay. Well, there you go. And they went out. So she'll be back here in a minute, and she'll be able to shoot the shit. Yeah, exactly that, Julie. Where's the stimulus check? What's up? That's a good point. That's a good point. Then were we supposed to get some more, vax money or some more COVID bucks? I know. Are we going to get freaking in trouble for saying COVID like the last time? But, anyways, no, we're good. We're good, D-Max. We got all comms. Well, I'm good. It's just her webs went out, so she got disconnected. So she'll be joining us again. So another 2 months. There you go. With that, we'll see how long that goes. Well, I mean, again, we'll 2 months, May. We'll see if that even plays out. I don't know what threat. They weren't being specific on it, like the news said, but I'm pretty sure. I just want the names. Just drop dimes. Just say who was it? Who was the one that were making the threats? I figure at this point, what would hurt to not name names on who was the one that was making the threats and all that stuff. But anyways, that's beside the point. So. In other news, I guess now COVID travel restrictions have now been lifted on half of the U.S. military bases on, I guess, global. More than a half of the U.S. military installations have now lifted the restrictions to try to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. As of March 1st, according to the DoD's latest statistics, 117 of the 231 military installations, or 51%, have lifted their constraints. The Marine Corps and Air Force have lifted restrictions on the greatest proportion of their installations out of 17 Marine Corps facilities. 15 had travel restrictions lifted, or 88%, and then the Air Force has lifted their restrictions on 58 of the 80 installations, which is nearly 73% of its bases and air reserve stations. So the Navy is the most cautious out of all of them, with travel restrictions lifted on only just 7 out of 62 installations, or 11%. And the Army lifted restrictions on a little more than half of its installations, 36 out of 68. 3 defense finance and accounting service locations have not had their travel restrictions lifted, but they've been ended for the Pentagon itself. So 12 installations lifted restrictions this week, and according to the latest update, but one, Patrick Space Force Base, Space Force Base. There's a Space Force Base in Patrick, located in east of Orlando. That's a Space Force Base. I'm gonna check it out. Actually, reinstituted them. Installations lifting restrictions in the last week include Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam, Hawaii, McConnell Air Force Base in Kansas, Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota, and Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Before installations, travel restrictions can be lifted, or the state or county or country in which the location is located at, it must show a 14-day declining trend in symptoms and cases of COVID-19. And there cannot be no stay-at-home order in place. So the installation must meet additional criteria to include health protection condition, or HPCON, below Charlie, and essential services have to be available. So once those steps are made, or they're met, senior leaders such as the Chief Management Officer, Service Secretary, or Combatant Commander can approve lifting travel restrictions, and service members or civilians at an installation with no restrictions in place may then travel freely to other locations, but also has had its restrictions lifted as well, according to the latest military update. So either installation has not yet met the criteria for lifting the restrictions, so of course travelers will need to have an exemption or a waiver before proceeding. So with all that, it's right, Texas lifted everything. Texas lifted all that shit. It's all up, all open. Except for Fort. Why'd you have to bring up Dean? There you go, Fort Bragg, back at Bragg. What's up with Fort Bragg, Dean? What happened with Fort Bragg? Did it have a would it well play with the COVID fund? Exactly that, Jay. What happened with Fort Bragg? What was the deal? I guess is Fort Bragg still restricted or something like that? Is it still has some of its COVID? I mean, I don't understand why everyone worries about the COVID mitigation. Anyways, because commanders aren't really listening to it to begin with. If you see the inbox and pictures of individuals taking ACFTs or doing training, it doesn't look like anybody gave a crap about the COVID restrictions to begin with, unless it's for a photo op or something like that, or if there's a picture to be taken. So that's the one I've seen so far. But hey, if you get the 19, they'll just sing it soft kitty for you. Okay, nothing. Okay, so Bragg still has. Okay, so Dean says Bragg still has all the. So back at Bragg still has all the back at Bragg rules. Well, there you go. There you go. That's it for that. So masks everywhere. So everyone's still wearing masks on Bragg, Dean. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. There you go. That sucks. That blows. Got to protect Airborne. Exactly, William. You got to protect them Airborne from, because, the legs will get you sick. Is that cool? Too cool? Can you say that? Is that going to offend anybody by calling soldiers legs anymore, or what? I'm here talking to you guys in the audience, so that way I can get the Joe on here in a minute. So we still have another 5 minutes of airtime. So I think 3 Corps is still following until HQDA says different. Yep, I'm seeing the same thing, Elliot. Maybe not. Who knows? I think 3 Corps has been. I don't even think I've heard anything from 3 Corps yet. Of what the cases have been as far as that goes. But no, wow! As soon as I said legs, everyone really came out of the freaking woodwork. So there you go. There's John. There's William. Everyone's talking about that. Yeah, exactly. Damn. That's what I'm talking about. Everyone's cracking on the legs. You guys are freaking awesome. Oh man. Yeah, Pip, they really didn't happen. The Bragg personnel, I guess there was some changes or something like that. There was some, I don't know. I thought they were hard ass too when it came to the Rona. I mean, they were still doing training and shit. They had a seer class. I go through some stuff. They had some units going through some training and got the Rona. So yeah, there you go. It's all gonna be again. It's all roll the dice. But anywho, well shit, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get Joe to call early. Let's see if he can come on here, and that way we can go ahead and kick off the segment. But yeah, okay, John. So with that, we'll be right back. Everyone, go refill your glasses and go take a potty break and hit the latrine and smoke them if you got them. We'll be right back. So shots.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Take it from me, Ice. You can't just float around space not caring about stuff forever.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Shit in the bag, Pogue.
the sirens are going off. Another rocket attack. I've got my boots and got my ammo in my 50-pound sack. Boys headed to war in this world unknown. The only peace of mind I've got are these letters from home. Another day has come and target attack. I've tried to talk and tell you about it, but it ain't the same. All these thoughts that run through my head, well, they can't be tamed. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here in Kandahar. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here. We ain't far from Kandahar.
I am here determined to stop this future atrocity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
And we're back with Colonel Joe Buccino, spokesperson for the 18th Airborne Corps. Man, welcome back, Joe. Again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me back once again. Great to be on the airwaves, and always great to talk to you.
Yeah, same with you, man. So real quick, I just wanted to talk to the audience. I know we talked to the audience before, or you had actually put out the Dragon's Lair concept, but this one, this Dragon's Lair concept and execution went a little bit further. Can you give the audience and give us a little bit of, like, I don't know, just a back brief of what happened with this last Dragon's Lair?
We did basically 2 Dragon's Lairs, 2 different events simultaneously for episode 3. So, episode 1 we started in October. We brought you in November to do episode 2, and then episode 3 we did our innovation focus, which is the traditional focus of Dragon's Lair. Traditionally we bring in 5 soldiers. You saw we brought in 5 soldiers when you were on the panel to introduce and present their ideas for competition. We actually had 6. We had 6 soldiers that came in and introduced their ideas, and they really ranged from an app that worked through XVIII and connected XVIII to some of the other Army systems, to a centralized information portal for families with EFMP children. And so that was that. And then really, that was the morning part. In the afternoon, we did a second panel that was not a competition. This was with really what we encouraged our soldiers from across the Corps and across the Army, really, to bring forward their ideas to address sex assault and sexual harassment, and really to eradicate those evils that are plaguing the force. This is a kind of an outgrowth, Ken, of all the notoriety coming out of Fort Hood in December, really, leading up to December, and then finally the report that everybody read in December. General Carrilla really spent time walking around Fort Bragg, talking to soldiers, walking around the Corps, holding focus groups, interviews, surveys. And what he found is that soldiers have ideas about this problem. They've, in some cases, identified ways to solve for it within their own units. And what we thought is, how many of those ideas are out there that we don't know about? How many of those ideas are trapped inside formations that haven't made it up to the command? How many ideas are floating around that are untapped? So we originally set this in motion 2 weeks prior to Dragon's Lair and said, look, we'll bring the top 2 ideas forward. We had, in 10 days, we had 41 submissions. They were all very thoughtful. They really were. And we've committed to implementation of some aspect of 40 of those 41. And then we actually brought 7 soldiers forward to present their ideas. And they were, very diverse. Some of them had to do with technology, such as, virtual reality, training, kind of a synthetic environment that allows the soldier to relate to someone under being sexually harassed. Some of them were policy changes, some of them were new programs, and so on those 7, we've committed to implement all those 7 across the Corps and recommend implementation across the Army. So that was the program. It was a full day. And, it was very eye-opening. It was very enlightening, and we had some really thoughtful presentations.
Now, just getting some of the information from you was very enlightening and eye-opening to me. I was...
Yeah, it was great talking about it.
Yeah.
And, I know you've championed this program, and I know that you and I spoke about this kind of idea, right, about soldiers coming forward, about this is, you and I spoke about this before the Fort Hood report, and at a time when the Army was focused on the 3 corrosives. I think the Army now talks about 2 corrosives.
Yep.
But sex assault, suicide, hazing, these kinds of things. You and I talked about doing a Dragon's Lair specific to that, and that's really helped inspire the idea, and we brought it to life to great effect. Now, there was a lot of publicity around it. There was a lot of national news coverage of the program, but the challenge for us is implementation of those 7 ideas, and that's what people are going to hold us to account for. That's what they should hold us to account for.
Now, did it at all? I remember in the discussions I know General Carrilla was very supportive of it, anyways. But are you is this something that we're starting to see that needs to be more prevalent Army wide? I mean, due to the fact that we were joking around about this is like the soldiers OPT. You know what I mean? This is like the soldiers operational planning team. Is there something wrong? I mean, this is a rhetorical question, but a little bit not. But is there something wrong within our bureaucracy that we have to have Dragon's Lair?
Is there something wrong within our bureaucracy that we need these ideas? Yes. Yes, we do. The ideas are not floating around our general officer corps. They're not developed at the top of the command. They are, in some cases they are, but when you think about the history of Army innovation, in many cases it's been soldier driven. If you think about the idea of, the MASH system that saved a lot of lives in, mobile support hospitals, and saved a lot of lives in the Korean War.
Right.
That was a soldier-developed idea. Medics, really at the end of World War II, medics identified a need to have a mobile command support hospital closer to the front lines, and that was developed in the period between World War II and Korean War by soldiers. The idea of air mobility, leaders in the 101st get a lot of credit for that, but soldiers during the Korean War identified a need for to push through the third dimension of combat and really break through the tyranny of the mountains there in Korea. And soldiers developed the idea of air mobility, not generals. So, yes, the answer to your question is yes. These ideas need to be scooped up from the bottom, from the middle, from middle management. We had one idea from Lieutenant Colonel Scott Stevens that's getting a lot of attention. He's the author of Athena Thriving, which is, many people have talked to me about that article. I encourage your audience to take a look at it. And, he had a really fully developed, he had the most fully developed solution. And, so you've got, that's one level, battalion command level. Sergeant Taylor Canuven is in the 101st. She is a survivor of an assault, of an incident, and she describes it in very compelling detail. And your audience can find her videos on our websites. But at the outgrowth of her situation there, and really the way it was adjudicated on behalf of her aggressor, favorably on behalf of her aggressor, she developed, kind of a policy change that we've already implemented, and so we've already implemented parts of it. And so, people have experiences, and as a result of their experiences, in some cases, they identify ways to solve for them.
Now, can you bring that up a little bit? What was her policy change? What was it that she could come across that is now being implemented, for instance?
So she had 5 policy solutions for survivors of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and really what she saw, I really don't want to tell her story because she does it so well, but the bottom line is that she was assaulted. First of all, she was harassed. That harassment moved very quickly in the course of one evening into an assault. She reported this to her company commander, who's a woman, and her company commander, it turns out, was assaulted by the same person.
Oh, wow.
And had never revealed this. Didn't want to report it, didn't want to be seen, didn't want to be ostracized, didn't want to be embarrassed, didn't want to be seen as potentially leading this guy on, So together they reported it. Now ultimately, this soldier, this E7, was retained in the Army. He was retained in the Army, and the review board that adjudicated his retention was 3 men, comprised of 3 men. So, and the folks that came forward on his behalf and advocated for him were all men. Their thinking was, hey, he's a great guy. We can go out and have a beer with him. He's a great family guy. This is one thing he did, and so she felt that that board needs to be more representative of survivors, needs more representative of the vast diversity across the Army, and that's one that we implemented, I think, like that day, or maybe it was the next day or the following day. It was within like 72 hours. Now she's got some other policy changes in there that we are working through our lawyers and will ultimately manifest in a broader policy change. But what we wanted to do is capture everything that was policy related into one document. So you're not, of course, you don't want to issue out a volume of of new policies. You want to issue one policy that captures all of them. So that's what we're doing.
Now, this took you had some interesting panelists for actually a wide range of panelists for both the SAS and the SH panel, and also the other portion, the other Dragon's Lair panel. Can you give us some of the notables?
For the let's see here, who do we have for so you know what we had for the first one, for the innovation panel, we were talking to Elon Musk's office, and he wanted to do it. Elon Musk wanted to do it,
right,
to serve as a panelist. In the end, he couldn't do it, but he sent a chief operating officer from SpaceX. Now the fella couldn't do it. He couldn't physically come, so he did it over Microsoft Teams. So we had a chief operating officer from SpaceX. We had someone representation from NASA. And then we had, the command. We had General Kurilla, Command Sergeant Major, T.J. Howland, CSM, and then Evan Adams. Evan Adams is from the 101st. He's an Army Major. He won the first ever Dragon's Lair.
Yep.
So he's the inaugural winner of the Dragon's Lair. And he's also gotten the farthest with implementation of the Rangefinder app. The Rangefinder app, he's gotten very far with the coding of it, and the Army, the Enterprise Cloud Management Office of the Army, has already accepted the Rangefinder app into Army, the Army's official cloud. So the first time ever a soldier innovation has made it into the Army's cloud. So he also serves as a panelist. And then for every element of, every different innovation, we had a kind of a subject matter expert from the core staff sit there to, kind of specifically troubleshoot each presentation.
Now, just real quick on that Rangefinder app. So it's already made it through the risk management framework process for the IT guys. They've already accepted it. Is that already done, or do you know? I mean, the specific. You know me, I'm a tech guy, so for me, I'm really fascinated. So do you know what level?
Yeah. So it's made it through the risk management process. It's accepted into the Army's cloud. It's not fully coded, so you can't, it's not fully developed for use. A lot of the solutions and a lot of the layers are already there. So right now, Rangefinder app interfaces with RIFMIS, that website, the RIFMIS Range Management System. I don't remember what RIFMIS stands for. Range Facility Management System that the Army uses, that all units use to lock in ranges. So it does have that interface with RIFMIS. It doesn't have every installation loaded, so there's more to do. But really, within the next 3 to 5 months, it's going to be all the way there.
Yeah, everybody knows for a fact that RIFMIS could use an improve.
That's right. Yeah, and the other thing is, once you're on a range, RIFMIS does you no good.
Right.
So that's really one of the great values of the Rangefinder app is that you can add overlays, you could add ammo,
right.
You can coordinate with other units while you're on the range.
For the audience, RIFMIS stands for Range Facility Management Support System. So
that was close.
No, you were. Yeah, you're real close. So I mean, you're dealing with so many acronyms, anyways. From what you were probably listening to, you probably probably didn't need any assistance on this. But the now that all the completion, who won this last Dragon's Lair innovation challenge? Because I know the sexual assault, sexual harassment one wasn't really a winner. It was more of implementations of, what was it?
That's right. Yeah. So for the 7 soldiers that came forward, they were all, we told them immediately, we brought them in and said, look, you've all won. Now we need to hear your idea. We need to ask you some questions. So I should explain that for that one, we had a separate panel.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 soldiers. They happen to be women. One is now a captain. She just came out of company command in a sapper company in Falcon Brigade 82nd. Another one is Command Sergeant Major Felicia Red. She's the Sergeant Major of the 3rd Expeditionary Sustainment Command here in Fort Bragg. And the third is a lawyer, Captain Megan Mejia, who is engrossed in this problem day to day.
Right.
So, we had those 3 plus the command. We had Evan Adams in there for that one as well because there was some, technical solutions. And then we also had the director of the Army's People First Task Force in from D.C., an Army colonel who is working on the redesign of the SHARP program. There was a lot of value in having him there, Colonel Jason Davis. There was a lot of value in having him there just to hear these ideas, take them back with him to D.C. next month, or actually this month. It's the end of this month. He's organizing the SHARP Redesign Symposium, and he's going to bring these ideas with him. And he's also going to bring some of the presenters. We'll go TDY to present there to all the senior Army leaders on that subject.
Oh,
so there's
awesome.
a lot of ideas. So, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's awesome. Is it going to be a live? Is this going to be virtual broadcast or what?
That one is the SHARP Redesign Symposium is a closed forum.
Gotcha.
Now they will. I imagine there'll be some sort of public, arm of it or public outreach, maybe a executive summary type thing. I'm not really sure. We're not involved in that, so we're not really sure how they're going to do that.
Right.
But the Army's talking openly about it. Now, at some point, they will brief out the redesign of the SHARP programs to be sure.
Of course, that's awesome. No, I'm glad it worked out. I mean, just from its from a discussion to see it come out and get it actioned, to me, I thought was good. I mean, I'm always a supporter of the Dragonlight program, but this new one with SNSH, it was a good eye opener. You really see what the force is going through when you see that articulated the way it was articulated. I was like, wow, I was blown away.
Yeah, the other thing about it was we were transparent throughout. So anybody could go into the website and view the website, our Dragon Innovation Program website, and see the submissions. That was open to everybody. Everybody could see our comments on every submission. We commented on every submission. Asked some questions, some other things to think about, what we thought about it. And then we had video presentations of all of the 7 ideas we brought forward. We also briefed everything out publicly. We talked about it on National Public Radio, Public Broadcasting System, Barbara Starr and CNN wrote a piece about it. So, we were transparent throughout. We also very publicly, like I said, signed up to implement these 7 things. And that's really where, for us, that's our opportunity to demonstrate that this wasn't theater. This was about really solving this problem. This was really about addressing this problem. And, that's the challenge for us. But, you asked about the winner of the innovation was Major Eric Kelly, who's here on Fort Bragg. He's an MI officer on Fort Bragg, and he had a mobile app that he's the one that had the mobile app that centralizes all the information that an EFMP family would need during the PCS or upon arrival PCS to really make an informed decision about where they'd like to go, and then also to inform them about what to do, where to plug in when they get there. I didn't fully realize how daunting that is. Or how many people struggle with that.
Is it a large percentage of the force that deals with that a lot?
Well, we heard from a lot of soldiers. We heard from a lot of soldiers, a lot of officers, a lot of spouses that this is something that you have to go to multiple sites, multiple locations, make multiple phone calls to gather all this information. And there are a lot of people who this is a challenge for them, when they've got to move every 2-3 years with an exceptional family member. So, and then some people told us sometimes they can't move, or sometimes they have to leave the family somewhere else if they've got special needs. So, it really does. This is something that I think strikes at the Army's focus on people first. It's certainly it was the furthest along in terms of the innovation. He'd been working on it and working with Duke University on it for months, and he's most of the way there with it anyway. So now there were a couple of other innovations that were really thoughtful and would be very useful, but nothing was really as grand as this.
Right.
So now there's a couple of the other innovations that we are going to implement across the Corps, and of course this one as well. This one will take a while. There's a coding process to it. There's a resourcing problem. We don't have a funding stream to implement these things, so we've got to find funds or reallocate where we can within the Corps, within the legalities, of course, which are pretty complicated. We also don't have existing force structure to bring these these innovations to light. It's not like we have a innovation staff section that can work on these.
When I sat in on the other panel, we had I remember General Carilla and you discussing with Sergeant Major Holland the innovation lab. Is there something about an innovation lab you guys are going to be thinking about standing up, or are you going to stand one up?
Yeah, the innovation campus. Here in Fort Bragg, you're familiar with Fort Bragg. You're familiar with the old Officers Club.
Yep.
That's going to be our innovation campus. That's going to be our almost our software factory. November is when we'll be fully operationally capable. We'll stand that thing up. We're building it out. We're funding it, and then we're also training a section that can, focus on data analytics and software design once they're in there. So, those things are going to come together by the end of this year, and then we'll be able to move much faster along these kind of innovations.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's working out now. So, real quick, this new podcast. You know me, I'm all about podcasts. We share our own podcasts. We like to support and praise, promote, whatever you want to call it. Toot the horn. We support military podcasts anyways, or veteran podcasts. You have one now it talks about the Cold War, or it's almost like an additional atomic age type of podcast. Can you tell us about it?
That's right. Yeah, it's called the Doomsday Clock. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, anywhere you go to get podcasts, SoundCloud, Podbean. And it really tells the story of the 18th Airborne Corps from really 1948. We kind of set the start of the Cold War in 1948. That's a little bit arbitrary. There are people who feel philosophically the Cold War started 10 years prior to that, even before World War II. We started in 1948, and then we go really up until the fall of the Berlin Wall. And so every episode, we explain a complicated situation from history or a person from history, an event, and we explain it in total, in a full story. We started with the Cuban Missile Crisis, and there's a lot of that story that's not told. There's a lot of fascinating little nuggets from the Cuban Missile Crisis. The 18th Airborne Corps was alerted here on Fort Bragg. Part of the Corps was moved to Florida and prepared for invasion, an airborne invasion with the 82nd and 101st, and then a seaborne invasion with 4th Infantry Division, which was part of the division Strategic Response Corps, which is part of the 18th Airborne Corps Strategic Response Corps. And so, the Corps, those units were not ready to do this mission. Particularly 4th Infantry Division was not prepared for an amphibious assault. But it was closer than people think. It was closer than people think. And one thing the United States did not know, is there were tens of thousands of Soviet soldiers on the island of Cuba prepared to defend Cuba. We didn't know that at the time. But Kennedy was very close to doing that. He was very close. And in fact, he was advised by many people in his cabinet, to include his brother, to include Bobby Kennedy, to invade. In fact, at the time, the concern was he would have looked like he was soft on communism if he did anything else.
Right.
So, we tell a lot of those stories. We told the story about Chernobyl, the true story about Chernobyl, which is a fascinating, dark, tragic story of a series of complications and a series of missteps. We told the story of, the early days of the Korean War, how we got into the Korean War. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating history, and we have a lot of cool episodes we've got lined up. And we have some big guests. We spoke with Ken Burns about the Vietnam War documentary. That was fascinating. We talked to him, Sir Max Hastings, great historian, about his enormous book about the Vietnam War. People were surprised. We talked to Joe Scarborough, who hosts, of course, Morning Joe on MSNBC.
Why would people be surprised? I mean, it's
because he's a news of the day kind of guy, and he wrote a book. He wrote a really thoughtful book about Harry Truman and the Truman Doctrine. You don't think of him as somebody who thinks deeply about history, but he's more thoughtful than people give him credit for. And it's a great book. And, we had him on. He talked about the Truman Doctrine and the events surrounding the Truman Doctrine and what it was, what it means, what it meant, and then how we can think about the Truman Doctrine today and how leaders in the Army can think about it. And it was great.
Now, when you talk about where did the term Doomsday Clock come from, though? What's the? I mean, because when people think, I mean, is it the bulletin? It was like maintained to the members of the atomic science, the bulletin of the atomic scientists. It's kind of like a metaphor, right? There's no clock out there that says, we're about ready to get zapped, right? I mean, is there?
That's right. Yeah, it's the bulletin of atomic scientists created this metaphoric clock in 1947 as we were developing more and more atomic weapons. The race was on. The Soviets were developing more and more atomic weapons. Now, we didn't know, and the bulletin didn't know how far along the Soviets were. But, the idea in 1947 was that we are much closer to destruction than we ever were before because of the advancements of science, because of the advance of the atom. And so originally the Doomsday Clock was positioned at 7 minutes to midnight. And so it was kind of like a stark warning to the world. And the clock is gone forward, it's gone back since then many times. So it's not it doesn't just go clockwise, it's also gone back. Of course, at the end of the Cold War, it went to the left. And so we haven't released this episode yet, but we had the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, the CEO of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, Dr. Rachel Bronson, on the show.
Wow.
And, she talked about the history of it's a very small organization. There's 20 people there in Chicago that really do nothing but think deeply about threats to humanity and serve to warn the global population about these threats. And so, right now we are 100 seconds from 100 seconds to midnight, which is was closer than we've ever been before. And so, they taught that it was really interesting. She talked about the history of that organization, what they do now, what they're comprised of, what they're thinking of, what threats they're thinking about. Obviously, like with everybody, COVID has really shaped their thinking and their view on future pandemics. The coronavirus is not a threat, an existential threat to humanity, but the next pandemic could be.
Now, is that now saying that there is a specific doomsday? When I hear doomsday, I think nuclear war. So adding a pandemic to the equation, is it connected to a nuclear event? I guess is what it would be.
No. So the Doomsday Clock has evolved since 1947, and really since the end of the Cold War, to other threats to humanity. One in particular is climate change, which, she explained that in great detail. Climate change is a threat to humanity. And so climate change unchecked in particular is a threat in the future. It's a threat right now. And, pandemics, new weaponry, the atom, water scarcity, food scarcity. So, all of these things now are manifest within the Doomsday Clock in a way that's much different. Originally, the Doomsday Clock was very specifically a warning to the world about atomic warfare. And then, with the development of the hydrogen bomb, that developed as well. And eventually it was about the proliferation of nuclear weapons. But it was always, about weapons.
Right.
And now they take into consideration, into warning, and into study all threats to humanity. And, that's a great service, and it's an important service, as you'd imagine.
Right. Now, so what's the... Did she give you any idea how close? I mean, just how close have we gotten to Doomsday? Is it been? I mean, by the way the clock looks at it, I don't want to say it's like a little bit of fear mongering, but a little bit of concern. Is it a good predictor? I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
It is not a good predictor, and it's not really supposed to be. It's supposed to be a symbol. And it's supposed to be symbolic of threat. The two times that we've been closest to some sort of nuclear destruction was first in the Cuban Missile Crisis. When we were legitimately close to a decision from coming out of the White House to strike Cuba, which would have inspired the Soviets to strike our cities, and the Soviets did have tactical nukes on Cuba. The other time was in 1983. We haven't released this episode either, but it's a fascinating episode. When in 1983 we were involved in Able Archer. Able Archer was a NATO command post exercise. That happened to come at a time when President Reagan was really doing some saber rattling at the Soviets. That's when he called the Soviet Union, the evil empire. That's when we were doing a lot of your kind of activity, a lot of IO operations in terms of flyovers and freedom of movement in the open seas, and so there were some folks within the Politburo that saw Able Archer and thought that it was not an exercise, but actually a preparation for an attack on the Soviet Union. There were a lot of things that led up to that, to include the tragic Soviet shootdown of a Korean Airlines flight that had an American congressman on it. That they actually thought it was an American jet violating their airspace. So, they were very close. Now there were some really critical decisions made on both sides that tampered that down. And actually, it terrified Reagan later in 1983 when he heard, it was months after the fact when he heard about how close the Soviets were to some kind of preemptory strike. And so, it terrified Reagan when he heard that, and it actually, forced Reagan to engage with the Soviets more forcefully, and ultimately to engage with Gorbachev, towards a peaceful resolution. So, those were the two times we were the closest. And so we've been on the brink before. How close is open to some debate.
Right. Now, is the panel?
I do want to maybe just, if I could just tell this one story.
Yeah, go for it.
We told this story. We have a guy named Fred Kaplan. Fred Kaplan's a really thoughtful writer on this subject. He wrote a book called The Wizards of Armageddon that I read before I came in the Army. That was written in 1983. And then just 2 years ago, he wrote a book called The Bomb, which is kind of a sequel to Wizards of Armageddon. But he tells this story in The Bomb, and he told this story in our show. His episode was, I believe, released a couple of weeks ago. I think it's episode 8. But, one thing that's interesting about the resolution of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and really nobody reports this out the way he does, was the Cuban Missile Crisis was resolved because Kennedy brokered a deal with Nikita Khrushchev where we would take American missiles out of Turkey and Khrushchev would take Soviet missiles out of Cuba.
Right?
So it's a fair deal. And Kennedy didn't want anybody to know that he'd made that deal. He felt, in fact, that he would be impeached if Republicans knew he made a deal with our adversary. That people already felt he was weak against the Soviets. That was already a strike against him politically. So he told like 7 people. One of them was Bobby Kennedy, his brother. One of the 7 people he did not tell was Lyndon Johnson, the vice president, which, that's wild. You'd have to think that you'd want the vice president to know that this deal was in place in case somehow the president was incapacitated.
Of course, yeah. I mean, obviously was foretelling because he was later, but yeah.
Was later.
Yeah.
So, a year later, Kennedy is killed. Lyndon Johnson is president. Lyndon Johnson never knew this. So, Lyndon Johnson assumes this conflict in Vietnam, and he draws the wrong lesson from the Cuban Missile Crisis. What he draws from the Cuban Missile Crisis is that this was Kennedy's greatest achievement in terms of national security. It was a great achievement, for any president in national security. Lyndon Johnson took away from this that Kennedy won because he stood firm against a communist adversary. And that is the way out of Vietnam. We're going to stand firm. We're not going to try to broker a deal with Hanoi. We're going to continue to build up forces. We're going to put ground troops. Then we're going to put more ground troops. And we're not going to back down. And by 1966, he's in over his head in Vietnam. And by 1968, he realizes he's in over his head in Vietnam and takes himself out of contention for re-election. And, you know, all that is kind of the tie between the Cuban Missile Crisis and Vietnam. You know, he took the wrong lesson away because he was not informed about the real lesson.
Right.
The real lesson was a negotiation solved this crisis. A negotiation, of course, is you get something, I get something, and both of our states are better off for it.
Now, would this be considered soft power? Just by the way, would be considered, you know, just the concept of soft power versus hard power, that type of a negotiation?
Yeah, I mean, it really, you know, soft power I think is overused here, but you know, it was certainly diplomacy used to the greatest effect. You know, and Kennedy did feel like, if I can communicate directly with Khrushchev, we can get this, we can land this together, because, you know, we have different cultures. Those cultures have different objectives, but ultimately we really want the same thing, right? People want the same thing. He wants what I want. His people want what we want. And so, you know, he was right about that. And that's diplomacy, you know. There's one other story that Fred Kaplan talks about when Reagan first met Gorbachev. You know, he talked to Gorbachev for 6 hours. And at one point in that 6 hours, you know, at the close of their first ever discussion, he said to Gorbachev, if aliens were attacking the United States, would the Soviet Union come to our aid? And Gorbachev said, you know, first of all, Gorbachev laughed.
Right.
He was like, is this a serious thing? And then Reagan asked him again, and he said, we would, because we wouldn't want the aliens to eventually turn on us. We want to help you defeat the aliens. Okay, so it's sort of like a silly thing, right, to Gorbachev. He didn't really take it seriously. And Reagan says didn't even put this in their notes, in their out briefing of this. But 7 months later, Reagan mentioned this in a public speech. He was actually asked not to by his aides, because his aides thought it would look very silly. But he said this, and his point was, you know, this is an odd sort of anecdote to make, but they're people, we're people. They want what we want, and at a base level, we kind of all want the same thing, right?
Right.
I mean, we kind of, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of man,
of course,
applies to all of us. And that's where you find diplomacy. So, and, you know, maybe that's like a central principle of this program, is that there is these dual impulses. There's a destructive impulse.
Right. Well, I remember when you and I talked about it, is that also that Reagan was, because he was a Hollywood guy, or obviously he was an actor, he was compelled by the movie The Day After, the 1983 movie.
Right. That's right.
That scared the bejesus out of him, because it showed, you know, the American heartland. It showed Utah. It showed Colorado. It showed Kansas. It showed him getting nuked.
That's right.
And he did not. He saw that imagery, and he literally, from I remember, because, you know, some of the notes that I've been taking for this. He literally took notes and talked to his aide to get Gorbachev on the phone to get him to say, "Hey, we need to talk about this nuke shit." I mean, this is I just saw Kansas City get wiped out on live television, and you know what I mean? Because it was a big event. I mean, I saw that when I was a kid, and I was like, "Oh!" I mean, I wasn't a kid, but it was 1983. But I saw that, and I was
a kid.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean,
I was 9. I was 9. You know, your audience probably doesn't know what we're talking about. The Day After was a TV movie. There used to be movies on TV that were produced.
Correct.
Just for TV, and there'd be commercials in them.
Correct.
You know, they'd break for a commercial. You could never go to the movies to see The Day After. I don't even know if you can watch this anymore.
You could watch it. You could watch it on YouTube on Hollywoodland, and I got some imagery of it right now. Kansas City getting nuked. That one scene where there was. I mean, it also had a full time, when it won freaking an Emmy. It had Steve Guttenberg, Jason Robard, John Lithgow. I mean, it had legit actors in it. So when Reagan saw
I didn't realize Steve Guttenberg's in it, but you know, Reagan had a theater built in the White House, and he used to have his staff and their wives and husbands and wives come over and watch films with him, and he watched that, and then they critique the film. You know?
Right.
I mean, he was the ultimate film buff. You know, and so he watched this film, and they talked about it, and then 2 days later in the White House, he was talking about it. It's like, you know, how much of this could really happen, and most of his staff kind of blew him off, but for him, it really struck home the dangers of nuclear war. And you know, it's interesting because a lot of people think of Reagan as a simpleton, as somebody who was very instinctual, and I guess he was. But you know, after watching the movie, he really dug in on the science of these weapons.
Right. Well, I saw that and I was like, ain't no freaking way Stop, Drop, and Roll is going to prevent you from getting, because that gave, I mean, like I said, I wasn't a kid, I was young, and I saw that, I'm like, that was, yeah, that if that doesn't scare the bejesus out of you to have a nuclear war or not to have a nuclear war, then that's insane. I didn't think that it would resonate so much with the president, though. You know what I mean? That you would think.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The other one was the same year, the Matthew Broderick film War Games.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know if people remember that. Very young Matthew Broderick.
Yep.
I think he was 22 at the time. But you know, Matthew Broderick is basically a hacker who hacks into these defense websites and defense servers, and he thinks he's playing a game. He almost accidentally starts a nuclear war with the Soviet Union.
Right.
And so Reagan said, you know, how much of this is real? What policies can we change here? So these two movies actually did influence him to change policy.
Not only that, but it also hardened our facilities. Because after seeing what was happening, I mean, because it was back in the day when you were able to see. It was basically Whopper. It was like a computer simulated. It was like the MCT. It was like Fort Leavenworth. You know how Fort Leavenworth has the MCT and the BCTP program, simulation war game program at JRTC or NTC. It's like that on steroids.
Yeah. That's right.
You know what I mean? So it literally was a simulated game that went into NORAD, and Northcom was in there too. So. That movie, I still dig that movie. Both those movies still kind of resonate with me. It's incredible. Now,
War Games, by the way, War Games was in theaters, of course. It was a major motion picture in theaters, but it was the first movie and my family ever saw on HBO. HBO was a new thing, and we got it, and then I think within a week, maybe 2 weeks. That was like the first movie we saw on it, man. It was wild, man, because you could watch a major motion picture without commercials.
Right.
From home. None of your audience is going to understand how big a deal that was. I'm serious, man. That was wild.
No, I'm just thinking. Well, I mean, from my line of work, from a PSYOP perspective, I think it was a good marketing blitz to show the American people that the whole thing of nuclear war it's not a joke. I mean, it literally is. It was a good job in psyoping our people, I guess you would say, our citizenry, and to not supporting it, not wanting. I mean, most of I'm showing another scene of the day after when the guy's running in a Kansas road and a nuke goes off behind him, and he turns around and he sees the freaking mushroom cloud. It's incredible. It's incredible imagery to see that you just put it in perspective when you say this is how close we got to that.
Yeah. And you know, going back to my story about War Games, now that I remember it, you know, Mike Patelli came over to our house to watch. He found out we had HBO. We invited him. I'm not sure he understood what he was watching, and I don't know what he's doing these days, but you know, perhaps we can find out. But look, HBO was a new thing, is my point.
Right, exactly. It was the new hotness. It was like the Netflix, and you only had to push this clicker box to have your cable switch to this on the switching device. To watch it back in the day. Yeah. Oh, I know. It was a pretty eye-opening experience, especially with hacking and you see him, you see him use an old phone to go into the modem to do dial-up.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Some of the audience are saying that President was watching the movie and turns over to the SecDef saying, "Hey, so can this happen?"
Yeah.
So what made you want to do this
podcast? I hope I'm doing better than Mike Patelli is these days. I imagine I am. I don't know what he has going on. I haven't talked to him. I imagine he probably works in a car wash or something. That's kind of the trajectory he was on. You know what I mean?
You never know, man. You never know.
I don't think he ended up at Google. You know what I mean? I wish him the best. I wish everybody the best. You know that.
Of course. I'm just thinking it's funny that you're car wash. You're dating your age again. He worked at a car wash.
They still have car washes.
No. Just by the way you said that, we're aging ourselves, man. We're talking about. So what made you come up with this, anyways? What was the brainchild behind this?
Somebody recommended to our commander, General Carrillo, that we go into the podcast. I think you probably want to be in as many information spaces as you can be. This is one we hadn't tapped. We hadn't done anything, and so there's a market there. There's a lot of people listen to podcasts, and it's something where, if you're doing PT, you're running, you're in the gym, you're driving to work, you can listen to podcasts. So we just thought, how do we get there? How do we tell the legacy of the 18th Airborne? How do we do compelling stories? And it took a couple of months, but once we landed on the concept, the content came really quickly. So right now, we release an episode tomorrow, episode 12, where we talk to General Ann Dunwoody. But
really? Awesome.
Episode release tomorrow, we have 25 more episodes already done.
Yeah, but you're talking about to General Dunwoody. That's she's an icon.
Oh my God.
She is an icon.
She's inspired a lot of people. She was the first battalion commander in the 82nd. And everybody here in Fort Bragg knows who she is, right? First battalion commander in the 82nd. First general officer ever, female, of course, woman, on Fort Bragg. I shouldn't say female, I should say woman. And I know that. And then the first four-star general, first woman four-star general. But, she really, what's interesting about her, we talked to her, this episode's going to be out tomorrow, so I'd encourage everybody here to listen to it.
Of course.
What's interesting about her, she started her career in the Women's Army Corps.
Right.
When there was a segregation. Yeah.
Right. She was a WAC.
Yeah. She was a WAC, and then the WAC collapsed, she became integrated, and she never worked, of course, she never worked for a woman. She was always working for men. Now, she had some great mentors, but she always had preconceptions to hurdle over that her peers didn't, her male peers didn't. And so, she reflects about, it's interesting. She's really interesting. She reflects about her legacy. She reflects about where the Army is right now with the problem of sex assault, what the Army should be doing about it. And she has things to offer leaders today. It was an interesting discussion. And it came together really quickly.
Right. She's a boss, man. I got nothing for admiration. I got nothing but admiration for her. She is a boss. And in the Airborne community, she's inspiring to other women leaders as well. What's her? Can you give us a sneak peek on what you guys going to talk about
for tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'd be happy to. Yeah. We start off, what I wanted to know is she's been out of the Army, for some time now. She retired in 2014. Yeah, so she's been out of the Army for some time now. And how does she reflect on the Army today? How does she reflect on the Army of 1978 when she came into it versus the Army today? One thing I said to her is I came in the Army in 97. And it was a different Army. We couldn't have. I'm so proud of the Army, man. I really am. the Army's so much smarter now. The Army's so much more sensitive to its soldiers now, and so much more socially aware now. And of course, there's more to do, yes. But if you care about the Army like you and I do, it's important to reflect on that journey and where we were. You know, you couldn't have had woman company commanders in the infantry in 1986. You couldn't have had it. You couldn't have had openly gay serving soldiers in 97. I'm telling you, you couldn't have had it.
No, not at all.
And we're a better Army for it. So I just wanted to know what that was like for her in reflection. And, you know, she had a great answer to it. I wanted to know what she's been doing because, you know, she's intentionally keeps a very low profile. She's very private.
She is.
Yeah, she really is. She's, you know, she's kind of focused on you know, her parents, her sisters. She lives, of course, with her husband and just trying to get some arrangements there for her family. And you know, she explained what she's been doing. For the most part, she's not paying a whole lot of attention to the Army. You know, day to day, she's not paying a lot of attention, but she still loves soldiers, and she's still concerned about the plague of sexual harassment, and she still thinks the Army's not doing enough, and she's very candid about those things.
You know, I bet she probably has some experiences to discuss about that too. I mean, just from a woman's point of view, and what she's probably experienced too. Yeah, so
it's a 25-minute episode, and it's worth the 25 minutes.
Right. Now I'm gonna. You always link me up to pod. I mean, that's what I did when I traveled down to Georgia to hang out with Cyberco. I did that. I was just listening to all the podcasts. Everybody had, you know, hey, listen to this. Hey, check this out. What do you think? Blah blah blah. So I didn't realize that I didn't realize you were going to go into this. Now, this is a Doomsday Clock episode, or just another Dragon podcast?
This is a Doomsday Clock episode. So, you know, it's a little bit outside of the traditional scope of Doomsday Clock, but there is a historic component to it. But, you know, we wanted to do it. She knows what she listens to the show. She wanted to be part of it. We immediately said yes.
Right, exactly.
I'm not going to say no.
Right.
I mean, you know, I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm gonna say no. You want to be on the show? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear you.
And so, you know, we put and so bottom line is it coincided with Women's History Month, so we wanted to get it out, you know, the end of the first week of Women's History Month. So yeah, it all came together there. You know, you talk about going to cyber. You know, I ran into today my boy Jeremy Mushter, and
man.
Hey, I hear you're going on Ken's show. Here's what you need to do. Take these notes. And I was like, Jeremy, I've been on that show like more times than you know, man. You're acting like I'm just finding out about this show. Jeremy, I'm like a guest host on that show right now. You've done it one time. Don't tell me how to do that show.
He had to have Colonel Jason Smith one too. He had to bring backup.
Right. You see me ever coming on here with anybody else?
No, man.
See me calling back to Mike Patelli and seeing what he's doing and trying to bring him on the show? He doesn't have anything interesting to say.
Oh, man. Why are you ribbing on Jeremy, man? He's a cool dude.
Jeremy's the best, man.
He's awesome.
Jeremy's the best. Because it was just like, he's like, hey, Joe, you know, I heard you going on the show. I happened to run into him.
Right.
Which, you know, I've only seen him since I've been back. I've only run into him like 4 times. This was the 4th time. We were both at the 82nd Airborne Division headquarters today, and I haven't seen. And he's like, "Hey, Joe, you know, I'm glad I see. Here's some things. I heard you were going on Ken's show. Here's some things that you should think about. And here's, you know, before you go on, they're going to tell you, you know, kind of the order of the show, and then, you know, make sure you test your." I was like, Jeremy, come on, man. I got. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to right now?
You're talking. You know what? I didn't even tell him. As a matter of fact, I don't think I told him at all that you were the first. I said that that the 82nd was the first unit to come on, but I don't think he made the connection that you were the first military guest ever to come on. So, and so I mean, we take pride in that. It's hey, Colonel Buccino was the first official Army guest, I mean, we had the entire G1. We had the G1, the Army G1, and then Ham
wow.
Yeah, we had General Brito and Sergeant Clark and Carol.
That's great.
Yeah, we had them on last week. It was a good show. We had the Sergeant.
I gotta check that. I gotta listen to that.
Yeah, we had the Command Sergeant Major of USAREC come on too. So
that one I heard.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
yeah, we got other big guests too. Yeah, I want to say that whole concept, and it's really cool to see other units doing the podcast thing. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the things that you and I talked about when we we talk just about every other day. Do you think now units are more comfortable doing this stuff now? Do you think now that you're seeing them kind of like stretching their legs out on a podcast stuff, you think they're kind of like getting used to it now? They're not being so risk averse.
I think I think so. I think it's hard to do. It's harder than you think. I think the key to there are a lot of units who do that, and it's like, here's our talking point of the week, and here's what we're talking about relative to this problem, and here's what we're doing. I don't think those resonate. I think stories resonate, as you know. And that's what we try to do is tell stories. Real talk resonates. And those, I think that's hard to do in a podcast. I think commanders, I know there's some commanders, not for Bragg, some commanders that I know that use it to get out their command message to their subordinate commanders and troops. I'm not sure that's the best platform. I think there's probably other things, other platforms, email, here's my priorities, frankly. I think you are asking a lot for somebody to engage with an audio file for up to 20 minutes or even more than 20 minutes. You're asking the listener, you're asking a lot of the listener. So it has to be a story. It has to pop in the mind. It has to resonate, and you have to get your hooks into the audience. We try to do that through a conversation. So right now, if people are listening to you and I talk, hopefully they feel like maybe they know something about you, or they know something about me, or maybe they even feel like they're part of this conversation.
Well, yeah. I mean, because we also engage long form, question back and forth, but we also engage the audience. So if I see the audience make a comment, I'm going to interject it. I mean, that's the whole, like you're saying, it's not a command information point of it. Mm-hmm. It's telling a story. I think the audience will understand and feel a lot closer. I've had listeners tell me that they've listened to a long time, just us talking or another host talking. And they feel like I'm right there with them. So, I think it's hard for some commands to kind of translate that.
Yeah. One thing is like when you have somebody like Ann Dunwoody on, like I said, it's important to hear what she has to say about the Army right now. But it's also, you talk to somebody who's served, who's led. There's a heart in there. And people need to feel that. They need to hear that. And you can extract that in a conversation, in a real conversation. And I think we got to that, in tomorrow's episode. So, and if you listen to something like that, if you feel almost like you're part of the conversation, certainly the time, the 25 minutes goes faster, and you feel like you've gotten something out of it. For some of the more history-specific segments of the show, like the one we did about Chernobyl, in that one, that's a really complicated story. There's a lot of science around how the Chernobyl reactors blew up, what happened, and so you want to find the soul. We tell a story in that episode through a man named Androv Dyatlov, Dyatlov is a very tragic figure who basically, you know, he went to jail for 5 years, was ultimately released because he was dying of radiation. Well, he was sentenced for 20 years. He served 5 years, then was basically released to die. But he walked the earth knowing that he was responsible for radiating millions and millions of people. And you know, ultimately, he was the ultimate Soviet man. He did what he was told to do, and you know, the reactor that he was placed in, the broken reactor that he was placed in, was at least partly at fault. So,
did it have anything to do with the? Now you saw the Netflix series, right? The Netflix Chernobyl series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing any parallels to that? I mean, you in some of the research when you talked about Chernobyl, did it have wow, just like the movie, or was the story kind of like, because if you watch Chernobyl, you watch it and you're thinking how bleak it is, or it doesn't have the Hollywood fanfare to it that would be, you know, it's not like a Michael Bay movie where there's explosions and giant robots attacking each other, but it has that bleak, non-cinematic feel to it.
Right.
So did you when in doing your research and you did that you know, that story, and watching Chernobyl, was there a good parallel to it? Did the movie tell the story right?
The show gets a lot of things right, but the show is it's a drama. It's not a documentary. It's a drama. And so it dramatizes and exaggerates the worst characteristics of Dyatlov. Dyatlov was a hard man to get up to. He was a hard man to work with, or he could be. He could be a hard man to work with. But he was a company man. He believed in the Soviet cause. He believed in the power of the atom and the power of Soviet science. And in the show, in the Chernobyl show, he's a raging asshole who overrides his workers' concerns when they're doing the test that ultimately resulted in the explosion. And that's not true. That didn't happen.
Right.
That didn't happen. So, and the show gets some of the science wrong. Now, the show wasn't trying to get the science right. It's trying to tell the story. But, you know, bottom line is the people, the characters in the show were the real characters in the actual tragedy of Chernobyl. There were some other things that the show gets wrong. I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but about the trial was not a public trial. It was hidden from view.
Right.
And there's some things about the trial that they get wrong. And you know, really, we tell that entire story, and we tell it by way of, you know, what we arrive at is Chernobyl. And we have a guy named Adam Higginbotham who's the expert on this. Come on. But Chernobyl was a catalyst for the collapse of the Soviet Union, in the sense that it drove Gorbachev, you know, the reaction. You know, first of all, the Soviets were intentionally obtuse about what really happened. They obscured the full scope of this. And as a result, many, many people suffered that could have avoided it. And so, you know, in the aftermath of this, Gorbachev, in maybe an attempt to recover the reputation of the Soviet Union, really pushed very hard on reforms, on glasnost, the attempt to be more open with the world community and open with Soviet workers. And he pushed too hard and he pushed too fast, and the entire system collapsed. The economic system collapsed, and the Soviets turned on him. They turned on him. So, you know, in that sense, Chernobyl did lead to the end of the Soviet Union, and by extension, at least in part, the end of the Cold War.
That's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, man.
Well, so I'm looking forward. I'm gonna listen to that show tomorrow. Is it when you do your podcast? Are they live like this, or how does it work? What's the?
No. In fact, we've already recorded most of them. No, we do. We have a studio here We do, we have up to, the most we've had is 3 mics. A lot of times we have to have people on the phone because of COVID, which isn't, as effective with sound quality. But, we record them. We try to record them in one shot, and then we edit. We try not to edit it too heavily. We sometimes do second takes on things, if we have to. But if there's we try to have a natural feel to it.
Right, of course.
Now there are sometimes when we do dramatic readings to bring to life something that happened. We'll do dramatic readings of a quote from history, or a series, or a dialogue from the Cuban Missile Crisis. So we'll splice that into a conversation. But no, we've recorded all these in advance, and now it's just a matter of releasing one every week.
That's awesome. Looking forward to it, man. So we got Colonel Joe Buccino, spokesman for the 18th Airborne Corps, talking about, we talked about Doomsday Clock, Dragon's Lair, Soft Power, and of course General Dunwoody, the first woman 4-star general, coming on tomorrow. Joe, thanks again for hanging out, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And I tell you, every time I do this, Leanne is always so helpful in the days in advance and putting it together, and she's wonderful. So thank you so much, man. I love talking to you. I love talking to you off the show. I love talking to you on the show. And
stand by. We'll talk after we put everybody on break. So we'll be right back. Everyone, refill your glasses and get your shots, and then go smoke them if you got them. We'll be right back. Shots.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. And we're back. The last portion of Sergeant's Time. Didn't mean to run over a little bit. Sorry about that. Me and Joe were just shooting the shit, like, you know, just hanging out, gossiping, freaking hens in a hen house, just shooting the shit about Army stuff and strategery. And did you call me about strategery? Strategery. You talking about soft power again, ass? No, it was a good convo, man. Thank you again, Colonel Joe Buccino. Hey, General Kurla, we appreciate you letting your PAO hang out with us again. So check out the Doomsday Clock podcast. I know Spanky's been dropping the links all over the comments and the chats. And of course, if you didn't catch the show tonight or you're just barely hanging out, you can always listen to it again on Facebook. Actually, you can listen to us to a bunch of other platforms. You can listen to us live right now on Twitch, YouTube, Periscope / Twitter, Facebook pages of U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio. And then you can also check out the podcast, download them on Google Play and Apple Podcasts. But his show's going to be coming out. I can't wait to hear that that interview with General Dinwiddie, man. She's a boss, dude. She's a boss. First woman.
Oh, absolutely.
4-star general. Dude,
I'm gonna listen to that one. I already put it in my queue to download.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know.
Especially, I mean, they're only like 25 minutes, so
right.
Even like if I have a short commute and stuff to work, like I don't drive very far, I can still listen to that.
Right.
Like, I can leave 5 minutes early, and then you'll be able to hear the whole thing.
I drive a lot, so I love. Sure. I grab podcasts and I'll listen doing work already. So.
I do too. When I'm on road trips, I listen to like 24 hours worth of podcast on them, but this one, like I said, it's a shorter one, and so the information is more compact, so even if you just have your waiting in line at the gate
right,
waiting in line at the gate commute, you could still check this one out.
Exactly. We've had some scheduling changes right now. Cause for right now, due to his work schedule, is going to be doing Friday Night Freedom / on Saturdays, maybe, when he can, due to his work schedule. None of us are getting paid all that mighty money that everyone thinks we're getting. We're getting paid in negative dollar. So Cause this Friday will be on. Also, our staff is doing the spring break thing. We got family members and children's. I think the kids have been on freaking spring break since March of last year. What are you talking about, Spanky? You talking about spring break? Where the hell? Where they?
My kid has been in school since August.
No, my little rugrats, man. This virtual learning crap. He's starting to become. He's starting to get intuitive on a lot of stuff. I have to now secure my refrigerator and secure items, because he wants to know how things work. So he will dismantle appliances to see. Oh, so that's how the dishwasher works, and we'll take apart freaking parts and water pumps and stuff like that, and it's really starting to become a pain in the butt. I mean, I understand why he's doing it, but I need kind of appliances to cook and shit. Luckily, he hasn't messed with his stove because they have those little child lock things. But yeah, it's crazy. So, anyways, we are not going to have an event. Probably not going to have another guest until about the 25th of March. Once it gets confirmed. And once we get it locked in, you're going to see some promos for that. But I think, we also have, what do we have, like freaking, what was that? Daylight Savings Time too, don't we? Don't we have Daylight Savings Time going on too?
Oh, that's coming up, the spring forward.
Gosh, man. I think that,
hurry up.
I know. Well, I think it's happening, when is that happening? Oh, it's happening. Oh, shit, it's happening next week? Yeah, no, I'm sorry, the 14th. Someone just said the 14th. Happening on the 14th of March is Daylight Saving Time. We spring forward. Yay. And so yay. More to follow.
You'll go to the PT in the dark.
Yeah, you're gonna go PT in the dark. We will post more updates and information on the food stuff that's going on in the capital region, with our soldiers that are currently, I don't want to say deployed there, that are there, that are being, I guess they're TDY'd. If you say deployment, it makes it sound like it's not their, I don't know what they're stationed at. They're currently being used. whatever you want to call it. But
they are currently operating.
There you go. Yeah, National Guard soldiers currently operating in the D.C. metro area. There you go. Guarding the Congress and FOB Congress. We'll give you guys and gals an update on what is up with the food, and you never know. We might find out some more stuff. There might be some scoops. But this is Sergeant's Time every Thursday with myself and Spanky, 2 retired sergeants for Sergeants of Sergeanting. And then we have, of course, the Monday edition with Flash and myself. And then we have a Pop Culture Warrior on Tuesdays with Michael Casquillo and a Radar. And, of course, Wednesday's a day off. But, again, Saturday, there'll be some times Kyle's will be on because of his work schedule. We want to make sure that we don't want Kaz to have Kaz likes to prepare for his shows. So I'm gonna tell you right now, if stuff's not done right, then I'd rather have Kaz just postpone it for the next day as opposed to having a bad show. Nobody likes a bad show, but we do appreciate you guys hanging out. But again, spring break coming up. The only thing we're gonna have probably in the March 25th is probably gonna be an event once it's confirmed. You guys will see promos for it. Man, April's gonna come out quick too. So. Again, I want to thank General Carilla for letting Colonel Joe Buccino hanging out with us. And then, other than that, do you have anything to say, Spanky? Any last words? No.
Oh no, absolutely not. I'm looking forward to spring break this year.
Yeah, really.
And I think I'm only going to miss one Thursday myself for spring break, but we have a lot of staff taking some time off. So
right. Awesome.
We will get all the information out to y'all.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Have a good Doomsday Clock. See ya. Shots.
Hey, this is SEAC retired John Wayne Troxel. You're listening to WTF Nation Radio, the station of choice for all of the badass MFers on the planet.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Us through the hubble as we celebrate the greatness of the United Planet of America. Space Force, we'll saddle up our intergalactic horse and we'll ride into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force. Now we'll go galaxy and beyond, beyond. You'll hear all manly voices singing Space Force strong. The critics say sound doesn't travel in space, to which we reply sound will do as we say. Oh, Captain Kirk, your achievements, though notable and fine, as far as we're concerned, this is Deep Space Mine. And big fans, but Lord Vader, step away from the lightsaber. There can only be one, of course. Space Force. Ra-da-da-da-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, dum, 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 ra-da-da-da-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, dum, 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 dum. Space Force, Space Force. We'll saddle up our intergalactic horse and we'll ride into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force. Space Force.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.